What's good? Brian Tong here, and welcome to the Apple Bits for everything good and bad inside the world of Apple. And if you are here for my reactions to the Apple iPhone 13, 13 Pro, Apple Watch Series 7, new iPad mini, and iPad, well then you've come to the right place. And you know, I deliberately took a day to just let this simmer some, but I'd really like to recognize right at the top of this video that I cannot do anything close to what these amazing product designers and engineers do, and neither can 97.8% of us watching. And I know that this keynote, it's still fresh in our minds and we all have feelings about it. So let's just start up from the beginning and just build our way up. And I have to say that the energy of the event and watching the Apple team overall, it just wasn't as peppy or amped up as I've seen before, even right out of the gates. And maybe I was reading into it too much. Could you feel it? Because I really could, and maybe that was a sign of things to come, because this might have been one of the lighter keynotes that I've seen from Apple across all products presented in a long time. And I'm not here to make excuses, but we have to factor in the pandemic and how it might have affected things for this year's products. But then also, like, at the same time, Samsung just threw out the Z Fold 3 and the Z Flip 3 this year, the two arguably most innovative mobile devices on the market today. But we're here to talk about and focus on the Apple event. And it started with the entry-level 9th generation iPad. This is kind of like the appetizer. 10.2 inches, A13 Bionic, a true tone display, ultra-wide front-facing camera with center stage. It supports the first-gen Apple Pencil, starts with 64 gigs and goes up to 256 gigs with Wi-Fi and LTE options starting at $329. Now look, we've seen all these specs on other iPads before, but it is now coming to the entry-level model, and I don't think there's a better value for a tablet that can just do everything that it can do for $329. Please, if you could find one, let me know. And I kind of think like that was a solid starter, but really we got to get to one of the highlights, and it has to be the all-new iPad mini. Finally, we get the iPad Pro inspired design we've been waiting for, and I'll have to hold it in person because those bezels look thick, but who cares? I'm intrigued because they aren't holding back on the hardware here. An 8.3-inch liquid retina display. It's rocking the newest A15 Bionic chip. That's the same as the iPhone 13 Pro lineup. So that's a 6-core CPU, a 5-core GPU. That's really significant to put that kind of power in this mini. It has a USB-C port, and it connects over Wi-Fi and 5G for the cellular option. It also has the ultra-wide center stage camera. And look, they just need to center stage all the things. Then there's the Touch ID power button that the iPhone doesn't have, and it supports the 2nd gen Apple Pencil that attaches magnetically. I mean, this is a fully loaded iPad in a mini form factor that doesn't skimp. And if I had to complain, honestly, this should have come out like 2 or 3 years ago, but it's here now with the latest specs. And I am legit thinking, you know, I might get one as a larger screen, but ultra portable tablet that's lightweight and I can really do everything. And it comes in purple. Apple, purple is my weakness, even though this is all blue, but I'll still be reviewing it. But right now, Apple iPad mini, you a good Apple.
Yeah.
And for some of you, that might have been the highlight of the entire keynote when it comes to a new product. So let's go to the Apple Watch, and whether you follow the rumor leaks or not, the Apple Watch Series 7 didn't get the massive redesign that we expected from the leaks. The new design didn't happen, and that's why I always say nothing is official until it's official. And I'm not going to be let down by unofficial leaks, and neither was Jeff Williams, who, out of all the presenters, appeared to kind of enjoy this, I feel like, with a little smug look here and there. Again, maybe I'm reading into this too much, but for me, it was more of a letdown because the Apple Watch Series 7 just didn't do enough for someone who owns a Series 4. That person would be me. And at the same time, that doesn't mean that I won't upgrade this year. This all makes sense, right? Because the display gets 20% bigger, the bezels get smaller. Apple wants us to use the itsy bitsy keyboard to send messages. Remember, they also wanted us to use the Apple Watch for using the Photos app at WWDC. I just don't know anyone who has spent significant time on their little tiny screen watch looking at photos, ever. Now, scribbling text was already hard enough, so I stopped doing that. I just don't know right now if I'm going to use that teeny tiny keyboard, but that's why I want to review it, and maybe my mind could change about it. The real solution for me would be obviously a really extremely accurate voice recognition system with Siri, maybe Google-like-esque, but we still aren't there yet. So what stands out for someone like me who owns a Series 4? Well, the Series 5, it got an always-on display. I didn't upgrade. The Series 6 got a new health sensor with the blood oxygen sensor. I didn't upgrade. And those two things never exactly changed how I used my Apple Watch. Like, I am completely happy with this. But for Series 7, we get a stronger display that is more crack resistant. There's no new health sensors here, and that means no new major health metrics. There are cycling updates for bikers, but that's not my thing. The battery life stays exactly the same at 18 hours, and the biggest way they helped this out was to bring faster charging for an 80% charge in 45 minutes. Yes, that helps, but it's still going to die the next morning if I don't charge it, and it's using the same processor as last year. Oof, I have to be honest, this still isn't a really compelling upgrade for me, and I have to reiterate that the Apple Watch is one of my favorite Apple devices all time. It still doesn't mean that I upgrade every year. It is that good. So if I'm strictly thinking like a consumer, if I own a Series 3 or earlier, the screen alone, 50% larger than those, this is going to be an amazing upgrade with everything it brings. You're going to feel like you're in the future, or I guess the present. Now, I own a Series 4, and the only reason I'm probably upgrading is because I haven't upgraded for 3 years, and the screen is slightly bigger. Maybe the screen actually blows my mind, but I won't know until I get my hands on it. I just think the majority of you are going to be just fine with your Series 4, your Series 5, or your Series 6. And if you're looking for your first Apple Watch, man, the SE is still the best place to start unless the current health sensors are really crucial to you. Now, if I wasn't a tech reviewer, I'd still keep my Series 4 flat out. But the tech fan inside of me wants a slightly larger screen after holding out for 3 years. So we're going to see how much I like it. So this is not a bad Apple, but more like it's kind of good, and I haven't upgraded in a while, so I'll just do it. I know what, Apple Watch Series 7, that's a just good enough Apple. Hey, it is what it is. And finally, all our attention now goes to the Apple's flagship product every year, the iPhone 13 lineup and the iPhone 13 Pro lineup. But wait, are you sure that isn't the iPhone 12 Pro lineup? Because it looks like they might have just bumped up the brightness on last year's photo. No? Okay. Yes, cosmetically, the iPhones look almost exactly the same. Their display sizes are exactly the same as last year. They are all just barely thicker by 0.25 millimeters, and they've also added a little weight across the board for each model. But what do you get from that? A bigger battery and significantly better battery life for every model. That's a good Apple. The camera arrangement has changed for the 13 and the 13 mini. They're now diagonally placed, and the notch is 20% smaller across every phone. We don't have an actual measurement, and it's smaller, but it's also still there. Just, not my favorite part of the phone. Now, the entire lineup gets the A15 Bionic, and the 13 mini and 13 get a version with the 6-core CPU and 4-core GPU, while the 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max get a 6-core CPU with a 5-core GPU. Battery juice is bumped up by an hour and a half on the mini and 2.5 hours on the 13, 1.5 on the 13 Pro, and 2.5 on the 13 Pro Max, so that's nice. And it may look the same, but this iPhone 13 lineup is really a beast under the hood. There's just no way around it. They all get sensor shift image stabilization, even the mini. The cameras have been improved across the board for all phones, but I'm going to jump over to the 13 Pro because this is a phone that feels like it's specifically targeting content creators and filmmakers at every level. That doesn't mean regular consumers won't be able to use these tools, but I do feel like they might not maximize all of their benefits because every camera, it's been upgraded for better low light performance on the iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max. The Pro models have exactly the same camera lens. The specs are exactly the same, and there's nothing different between them. They both have the 3x optical zoom with the same telephoto lens this year. Now, that wasn't the case with the 12 Pro versus the 12 Pro Max. And also, both 13 Pro phones now have sensor shift image stabilization. That was only in the 12 Pro Max last year. The only glaring omission for me is that their camera doesn't have a 5 to 10x optical zoom. Maybe that's something down the road in the future, but this triple lens system has better low light performance for all 3 lenses, night mode on all 3 lenses, and macro photography and video capture. I'm already getting giddy here, but really, you look at this, their only difference is display size, and that just makes it easy for everyone. I'm finally happy a Pro and a Pro Max do exactly the same thing. Now, cinematic mode, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. This looks so special. It's on the entire lineup, and I'm excited for it. Look, you could change the focus while recording and then being able to manipulate it in post-production. That is amazing. This is all happening real time on device. I've never seen anything like this, and I can't wait to really dive into it. And even though I'm excited about it and budding creators will use it, I can also take a step back and know that a majority of users, they aren't going to upgrade just for this feature, and I don't know how often I'll honestly end up using it even in my own work. But cinematic mode works for 1080p video at 30 frames per second. And look, I'm not going to slam it for not supporting 4K at 30 frames per second because the tech looks awesome. I mean, this is really, truly one of a kind thing and the first time that we've seen this. And that's something to look forward to not only now, but in the future. So I just want to play with it first. We also have ProRes video. Okay, this has major implications for the future of Apple products, and it makes sense to be a feature just for the Pro models. The ability to record on device and then do more in post-production with color correction and editing at up to 4K at 30 frames per second. Good Lord, this takes the iPhone 13 Pro to another level for creators. And you know what? That's a rad, Apple. Yeah! Oh, and you're definitely gonna need that larger 1TB storage option if you're doing ProRes, because those files are gonna be big. And you know, I love my mama, but she is not the type that's going to be using ProRes video anytime. And by anytime, I mean ever. So you can record and edit in ProRes or Dolby Vision HDR on the iPhone 13 Pro lineup. And then this makes me think bigger, because if the iPhone 13 Pro with the A15 Bionic can edit video at that level, well, that means the new iPad mini with the same processor as the Pro can edit that video as well. And we know that the M1 is in the new iPad Pro. So all of these things, they're just more pieces of this puzzle that are falling into place to allow us to edit ProRes and Dolby Vision HDR video on iOS, iPadOS, and macOS devices. Hey, Final Cut Pro for iPad, I know we've been talking about, I know we've been dreaming about it, but if Apple is putting ProRes video on an iPhone, then just let us edit it on a pro level device with your flagship app. I know I've been speaking it into existence for 5 years or so, and it will eventually happen, but I think the pieces now, we're starting to see like it's undeniable. This has got to happen. Now, this is all impressive, and you know, I'm happy to finally feel like these iPhones are truly living up to their iPhone Pro name. And I even forgot to mention about, you know, the Pro Motion display, because to me, there were just so many other more big, important things. I will repeat what I've always said. It is nice. It is not a game changer. It didn't revolutionize Android phones who got it, what, 2 or 3 years ago? And eventually, you know, you won't really notice it and it's business as usual, but it looks really nice on the Pro models. It is going to help with gaming, and it'll help with drawing apps that can just be more accurate and responsive with the pencil, but it's nice to have, all right? Now, during my live stream, I heard so many reactions from you, just a wide range, you know, about the event, about the products. We got everything from 9s to 10s to 2s to 3s, because all of this creative stuff, you know, you spoke, it still won't change how most people use their phone daily, and that's okay. Maybe some of you might use these Pro features once or twice and never touch them again, but it will still be accessible to everyone. So if they're not for you and you're still ready to upgrade, you've had a phone for a while and you're like, this doesn't matter, well, hey, you can always just save your money and just be happy until the time is right for you to upgrade. Like, don't be upset that Apple didn't give you something to buy. I feel like that happens with the Apple world. But look, I'd love to hear what you would rate the Apple event and all the announcements. I say put it in the comments so we can see it. It wasn't Apple's best event, and it doesn't have to be. You know, if I think about it, I'd probably give it a score somewhere between, I guess, like a 7 or a 7.5. So, you know, that's a solid one. What's a solid Apple? Oh, that's a crunchy Apple. Is crunchy solid? Whatever, it's solid. But I love the iPad mini announcement, but it doesn't mean I'm going to buy it. I mean, it was a surprise we even saw it. I'm going to wait and see how the Apple Watch Series 7 works for me in my review. And I'm completely intrigued by the new camera system as a creator for the iPhone 13 Pro. But I also know that these cameras are already so good that if you have an 11 Pro or a 12 Pro or even earlier and you are completely happy with it, you do not need to upgrade. Like, we didn't get a new Apple Watch design. We didn't see AirPods 3. The leakers missed on those. But we got a new iPad mini instead, and we got the best camera that we've seen so far on an iPhone. Look, these are Pro models that finally feel like they are 100% worthy of that name. But look, enough of me talking. I would love to hear what you thought, and if you think that I'm crazy and cuckoo, you don't like that 7 score, you can tell me that too. All right, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you come back, and I will have plenty of coverage around the new Apple product announcements over the next few weeks. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like what you see, you know what to do. Give me that thumbs up, subs up, and hit that notification bell, ding, to get all my videos when they drop. And if you want more of that Apple goodness, you can check out my weekly Apple Bits XL audio podcast to get the latest deep dive with everything you heard about. Plus, I got special guests. We are going to break this all down. So thank you so much for watching. Take care and be safe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.